Attention, she tells the judge. Voice smooth enough to slide across the whole courtroom. Heat climbs my throat. My late father's brass coin burns a circle into my palm. If she convinces them I'm a liar here, under these lights, every bruise I remember becomes a story that never happened. The air in the courtroom is too cold, recycled through vents that hiss softly above my head. It smells like paper, dust, a faint line of aftershave from the man in the front row, and something sweet from the woman behind me who chews mint gum like this is a movie. The microphone in front of me hums, a low, steady buzz, and my name sits on a little placard that makes me feel like an exhibit. Counsel your witness, the judge says, voice level, a touch of warning threaded through the words. The gavel doesn't slam yet. It just taps once, a soft thunk that still makes my shoulders jump. The prosecutor steps closer to the rail, legal pad in hand, pen tucked behind his ear. He doesn't look at my mother. He looks at me. Take a breath, he says quietly, not into the mic, just for me. I breathe. The coin presses into my palm, smooth on one side, ridged on the other where the year is stamped. Dad gave it to me when I was 8, slipped it into my hand at the kitchen sink. Water running over dishes. Lucky penny for my unlucky girl, he'd joked. Before Mom came back into the room and the joke died in his throat. Let's start simple, the prosecutor says, now into the microphone. State your name for the record. My voice sounds thinner than I expect. I say my full name, every syllable landing in the room and getting typed by the court reporter, her fingers flying over the keys with a soft, relentless clatter. And your relation to the defendant? She's my mother. The word mother feels wrong in my mouth, like something I borrowed and forgot to return. The gallery shifts. Chairs creak, fabric whispers. Someone clears their throat. I see my mom out of the corner of my eye, sitting at the defense table in a soft blue cardigan she knows makes her eyes look gentler. Her pearls shine under the fluorescent lights, a little halo around a throat that has shouted my name like a curse, more times than I can count. Her mascara is just smudged enough that anyone glancing over would think she cried earlier. She probably did. Just not for me. Do you understand why you're here today? The prosecutor asks. My fingers tighten on the coin. It warms against my skin, metal picking up heat like it remembers every time I've clenched it in a bathroom or closet, trying not to make noise. Yes, I say. I'm here to testify about what she did to me, and to my brother. Mom exhales sharply. The microphone on her table picks it up. A hiss of air that skates over the speakers in the corners. Her lawyer touches her elbow, a quick warning. Objection to the characterization, he says, already pushing his chair back, already on his feet. The witness is editorializing. The judge raises a hand. Overruled, they say? She'll have time to cross. Let the witness answer. The bailiff shifts his stance near the wall, hand resting near his belt. Eyes moving between us like this is a slow-motion fight, and he's waiting to see if anyone actually throws a punch. The prosecutor nods to me. Let's talk about the first incident you remember where your mother caused you physical harm, he says. Voice even. Approximate date, please, and your age at the time. The question unspools a hallway of memories. I pick one. I pick the one that never left. I was 9, I say. It was a school night, late winter. I remember because the kitchen smelled like bleach and oranges. She'd just cleaned the floor. The scent comes back so sharply I almost cough. Dad was working nights by then. My brother was a baby. He was crying, and she couldn't get him to stop. The TV was too loud, and I laughed at something, and she told me to shut up. My voice wavers on shut. I swallow. She was holding a wooden spoon, I say. The one with the burn mark on the handle. She hit my thigh with it. Hard. How many times? The prosecutor asks. 3, I say. I counted because I knew it mattered. My hands sweat against the wood of the rail. The coin sticks to my palm. What happened to your thigh? A bruise, I say, about the size of her palm, purple in the middle, yellow at the edges. It hurt to walk for days. Did you tell anyone? I tried, I say. I told the school nurse I fell. But when she pressed on it, I started crying, and I told her my mom did it. She called someone in, a counselor. The courtroom feels smaller as I talk. Like the walls move closer with each word. The way the hallway at home always felt shorter when Mom was at the far end of it, waiting. And what happened then? They called my mom in. My eyes flick to the defense table. Mom's face is smooth. Her hands are folded like she's at church. She came to the school, I say. She smelled like cigarettes and peppermint. She walked into the office smiling. She sat down and told them I had a big imagination, that I fall a lot, that I bruise easy. The prosecutor steps to the side so the jury can see my face fully. And did they believe her? I let the silence hang for a second. The buzzing lights overhead fill it. The court reporter's keys don't pause. Yes, I say, they did. A murmur ripples through the gallery, quickly shushed. The judge glances up, a warning in their eyes. Order, they say, and the single word slices the noise clean. The gavel doesn't have to fall this time. After that, the prosecutor continues. Did your mother say anything to you about what you'd told the nurse? I lick my lips. They taste like metal, like the inside of a penny jar. She waited until we got home, I say. She put my brother in his crib. Then she called me into the kitchen. The coin digs paths into my skin as I squeeze it. She didn't yell, I say. That was almost worse. She told me to hold out my hands. I did. She put her fingers on my wrists, tight. The pressure ghosts over my skin even now, years later. She said if I ever embarrassed her like that again, they'd take me away, I say. And that nobody would believe me anyway, because I was a liar, because she loved me and I was ungrateful. I hear my mother's favorite word for me echo off the high ceiling. Ungrateful. She told me to look her in the eye and say that I made it up, I add. So I did. I told her I made it up. The prosecutor lets the quiet stretch. Is that why you're here today, he asks finally? To make something up? I shake my head. My throat tightens. No, I say. I'm here because I'm done lying for her. Someone in the back row sucks in a breath. Mom's lawyer writes something furiously on a yellow legal pad. Pen scratching so hard the paper wrinkles. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor, the prosecutor says. He steps back, hand brushing the edge of the exhibit binder at his table. A small procedural touch that calms me more than anything else. There is a record. There are pages. There is more than just my word. The judge turns their gaze to the defense table. Cross-examination, they ask. Mom's lawyer stands, buttoning his jacket with practiced fingers. He smiles as he approaches, the kind of smile people use when they're about to sell you something you can't afford. Good morning, he says into the microphone, as if this is a friendly chat. We've heard some very serious accusations from you today. His shoes click on the polished floor. Each step lands like a metronome, counting down to something I don't want to hear. You love your mother, don't you? He asks. It's a trap of a question. Everyone knows it. My heartbeat drums in my ears like distant footsteps on the old hallway at home. I used to, I say carefully. I wanted to. He nods like he expected that. Isn't it true, he continues, that you had behavioral issues growing up? That you were, how did your school put it, emotionally volatile? He flips a page in his file for effect. Paper whispers under his fingers. I had reactions to being hurt, I say, if that's what you mean. So you admit, he says quickly, pouncing, that your perception of events might be heightened? Mom's eyes are on me now. They shine, wide and wet, her mouth turned down just enough. She gives the smallest shake of her head. Don't do this. Don't ruin me. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. I admit that people who are scared all the time notice everything, I say. Words, smells, the sound of a car door, the sound of a key in a lock. The coin is so hot now it might as well be freshly minted. The judge leans forward a fraction. The lawyer's smile tightens. He fires off more questions, trying to twist dates, chip at the edges of memories, imply that I'm confusing television scenes with real life, that I'm conflating discipline with abuse. But every time he reaches for solid ground, he hits something already written down. A police report, a nurse's note, photos that wait in the prosecution's binder like quiet witnesses. Isn't it true, he asks finally, a little less smooth now, that you were told you could stay with your father's relatives if you cooperated with this investigation? I blink. The question hangs in the air like a bad smell. No, I say. I was told I could stay with people who don't hit me. The gallery stirs again. The judge's gaze sharpens. Counsel, they say. Move on. The lawyer hesitates, then clears his throat. No further questions, he says, but his voice has lost its easy polish. He walks back to the defense table. He leans down. My mother's hand slides over the microphone as she brings it closer. She looks at me once, eyes gone flat and hard, the way they used to go right before the slap. Then she turns that same face to the judge. I'd like to testify, she says. Her voice is steady, sweet, convincing. The bailiff steps forward, Bible in hand, movements smooth and practiced. Raise your right hand, he says. I watch my mother's fingers lift. For a second, I see them the way the jury does. Well manicured, trembling just enough. The hands of a worried parent. I see them the way I do too. every angle and bone mapped to every bruise they've ever left. The bailiff's voice carries through the speakers as the whole room listens. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The fluorescent lights hum. The court reporter's keys pause, just for a heartbeat. I don't breathe again until I hear my mother swear to tell the truth, and nothing but like she hasn't spent my whole life practicing the opposite. I don't breathe again until I hear my mother swear to tell the truth, and nothing but like she hasn't spent my whole life practicing the opposite. The oath echoes in my chest longer than it does in the room. The judge nods. The court reporter's keys start their steady tap again. The bailiff steps back to his post by the door. The prosecutor clears his throat. Before we get to your mother's testimony, he says, turning slightly toward the jury but keeping his eyes on me, I'd like you to help the court understand where all this started. Can you describe your home growing up? Our home. The word lands heavy. The microphone in front of me hums. The coin sits hot and solid in my fist like a little planet, pulling me back into its orbit. From the outside, the house is always pretty. White paint, I say slowly. Shiny, because she made my dad repaint it one summer when I was little. Blue shutters, flower boxes under the front windows. I can see them, geraniums and petunias she arranges like a magazine spread. She hangs wind chimes on the porch, I add. 2 sets, one with seashells, one with those long silver pipes. She likes to stand there and listen to them when it's breezy. The wind chimes are the first sound I remember loving, and the first sound I remember dreading. People tell her it looks like something from a postcard, I say. They say they wish they had a house like ours. What about inside? The prosecutor asks. I swallow. Inside smells like bleach and lemon and something sharp under it, like old anger that got into the walls and never quite aired out. Always clean, I say. She scrubs the counters until her knuckles go red. The floors smell like cleaner. The bathroom smells like alcohol from the bottle she keeps under the sink. Can you describe an early memory with your mother in that house? The wood under my hands feels like the kitchen table. My feet don't reach the floor. I'm standing on a chair at the bathroom sink, I hear myself say. I may be 6. I fell off my bike. My knees scraped open. The sting hits again. Ghost pain right under my skin. Blood everywhere, I say. On the tile, on my sock. She grabs my leg and drags me to the sink. She pours rubbing alcohol straight on the cut. I remember the burn like fire ants. I scream, I say. She tells me to shut up. She says she's helping. She says, do you want it to get infected? Do you want to lose your leg? The jury is very still. I remember the smell more than anything, I add. Alcohol and my own blood and the citrus cleaner she used that morning. I remember the slap of her hand on my cheek when I pulled away from her. The prosecutor's pen moves once, a small note on his pad. Did she hit you often at that age, he asks. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead. It sounds like the old kitchen light that always flickered over the stove. Not at first, I say. At first it was more like corrections, a smack to the back of my head. Fingernails digging into my arm. She called them reminders. She said good kids didn't need reminders. Her voice lives in those words even now, sweet and poisonous. And your father? Dad works nights a lot, I say. He smells like coffee and metal when he comes home, like the machines at the factory. He's tired. He still tries to make the house feel fun. He makes pancakes for dinner. He puts music on. He sneaks us little treats. The coin warms as I talk about him, like it knows. One night, I say, and the memory sharpens as I speak it. I'm at the kitchen table drawing. It's late. He crouches beside me and presses something into my hand. The metal had been cool then, not warmed by years of fear. A coin, I say. A brass coin. He says it's for luck. He calls it my emergency backup. He says if I ever feel scared, I should hold it and remember he believes me, even when she doesn't. The prosecutor glances at my fist. Is that the same coin you're holding now? I nod. Yes, I say. I brought it with me today. Did your mother know about this coin? She sees him give it to me, I say. He thinks she's in the other room. She's not. The picture is crystal clear. The fridge humming, the wind chimes tinkling faintly through the window, Dad's whisper, and then, she stands in the doorway, I say. She doesn't say anything. Her jaw just locks, right here. I lift my own hand halfway to my face, tapping my temple. A little muscle jumps, I say. I don't know what it means then. I learn. The prosecutor keeps his voice gentle. What happens after that? Dad leaves for work, I say. He kisses my forehead. He tells her he'll be back in the morning. The door closing had sounded like hope leaving. It's quiet for a while, I say. Too quiet. The TV's off, the radio's off. The chimes outside are the only sound. The memory shifts, heavy as wet laundry. She tells me to come here, I say. Her voice is calm. That's the worst version of her. The calm one. I can feel my child's steps crossing the kitchen tiles, counting the cracks. She takes my wrist, I say. Not hard enough to leave a mark. Hard enough that I know I can't pull away. Her fingers go around the spot where the coin is in my palm. The coin in my hand now seems to push back into her grip from all those years ago. She says, "Don't hide things from me," or I say. I say, "It's just a coin." She says, "You don't need luck, you have me." The prosecutor doesn't interrupt. She doesn't hit me that night, I add. Not exactly. She just yanks my arm, fast. I hear again the tiny pop in my shoulder. It doesn't bruise, I say. It just hurts, for days, every time I move it. Every time I reach up for something, she tells me I'm being dramatic. She tells me to stop whimpering, or she'll give me a real reason to cry. My fingers tighten on the rail. "Did anyone at school notice?" the prosecutor asks. "Teachers say I'm helpful," I say. "They like that I stay after to stack chairs. They like that I don't talk back. They like that fear looks like obedience. Mom volunteers," I go on. "She brings cookies that smell like vanilla and butter. She laughs a lot. She practices that laugh in the bathroom mirror at home. I hear her. She tilts her head just right so people will tell her she's a saint for doing it all alone." The defense table is a solid block in my peripheral vision. I don't look at her. I stay with the house. With visitors, she calls me her angel, I say. The second they leave, she calls me a burden, a mouth to feed. She says if I don't behave, they'll take me away to some place with cold metal beds and mean ladies who don't care if I cry. The juror in the third seat flinches at that. They try to hide it. They don't. The prosecutor's voice softens even more. "I'd like you to tell the jury about the first time you recall a significant bruise," he says. "Take your time. The first real bruise feels like a line in the sand. I cross it every time I remember. It's a Saturday," I say. "Late afternoon. I'm 9. I slam my bedroom door because she's yelling at me about crumbs in the living room. The sound of that slam still rings in my ears sometimes when I wake up. She comes down the hall, I say. Slow. I can hear her heels on the wood. 1, 2, 3. The closer they get, the more my stomach hurts. The coin was under my pillow then. I hadn't learned to keep it closer. She opens the door, I say. She doesn't yell. She just picks up the wooden spoon from my desk where I left my art supplies. The one with the burn mark. The courtroom feels colder. She tells me I don't slam doors in her house, I say. I say I'm sorry. She says, "Not sorry enough." My voice drops without me meaning it to. She hits my thigh, I say. Once, twice, 3 times. Same spot. I count because I think if I can put a number on it, it'll make sense. I feel again the sharp shock, then the spreading ache. It leaves a bruise the size of her hand, I say. Purple in the middle, yellow at the edges. It hurts to walk, to sit, to climb the bus steps. "Did you show anyone?" the prosecutor asks. I nod, just once. "The school nurse," I say. I tell her I fell. She asks me to show her. I pull up my shorts. She goes really quiet. The nurse's office had smelled like bandages and baby powder. She presses on it, I say. I cry. I tell her Mom got mad. I say it fast, like ripping off a bandage. I think this is how it stops. The judge's pen moves. The court reporter's keys tick faster, keeping up. They call someone in, I say. A counselor. She sits with me. She asks gentle questions. She writes things down. She tells me it's not my fault. She says I did the right thing telling her. There is a pause in my memory, a breath where anything could have happened. Then they call my mom, I say. The wind chimes outside the school office had been loud that day. She walked in smiling. She smells like perfume and garlic from whatever she was cooking, I say. Her eyes are shiny. She sits down. She puts a hand on my shoulder and laughs like we're all crazy for being worried. I hear her voice word for word. She says, "She's so clumsy. She bruises like a peach. Honestly, I warned her not to run in the house." She looks at me and says, "Didn't I warn you?" The prosecutor doesn't need to ask what I answered. We all know. I nod, I say. I say yes. I say I fell. I say it was my fault. I watch the nurse's face soften. I watch the counselor's pen stop moving. A tightness climbs my chest, old and familiar. In the car, I say. She waits until we're out of the parking lot. Then she turns the radio off. The silence in the courtroom tilts toward that silence in the car. She tells me to hold out my hands, I say. I do. She doesn't hit them, she just looks at them at the bruise under my shorts, at me. I look down at my own hands now, at the coin mark pressed into my palm. She says, "If you ever tell people our business again, they'll take you away." My voice drops to match hers. She says, "They won't believe you, they'll believe me, because I'm the good mom and you're the little liar." Air feels thick in my lungs. She lifts my shorts hem just enough to look at the bruise one more time, I say. She pushes her thumb into it until I gasp. Then she smiles and lets go. She says, "See? That's what happens when you don't learn." The prosecutor lets the silence stand. No one shuffles. No one coughs. I start to walk different after that, I say, more to myself than anyone else. Smaller steps. Quieter. I learn which chairs hurt less. I learn how to sit so the bruise doesn't show. The coin sits in my palm, a small, hot truth. I start to learn how to walk without limping, I say, and how to hide both the bruises and the coin. I start to learn how to walk without limping, I say, and how to hide both the bruises and the coin. The words hang in the courtroom air, dry and humming. The prosecutor nods, that small, grateful tilt of his chin that tells me I've given him something usable. "Thank you," he says. "I want to move us ahead a bit. After that incident with the wooden spoon, did there come a time when your injuries were more serious? When you tried to tell someone more fully?" My ribs tighten just hearing it. I don't have to dig far. That day lives close to the surface, right under my skin like a splinter. "Yes," I say, "there did." The wood of the witness stand under my hands becomes a different surface. A vinyl cot. Crinkly paper. I am small again. 6th grade. The day starts normal, I say. As normal as it gets. The house smells like coffee and bleach. She's already mad before breakfast because my brother knocks over his cereal. The coin is in my pocket that morning, smooth and heavy, a small sun against the thin fabric. I walk on eggshells, I say. Quiet steps, soft voice. I think if I don't make ripples, she can't push back. It never works. After school, I'm supposed to go straight home, I say. I'm a few minutes late. The bus had a new driver. We hit every red light. When I walk in, she's standing by the sink with the dish towel in her hands. My throat goes dry. The towel is twisted so tight it looks like a rope, I say. She doesn't yell. She just says, "Where were you?" No question mark. Just accusation. I say the bus was late, I say. She says, "Do not lie to me." I say I'm not. She steps closer. The kitchen smells like garlic and cleaner and her perfume. That expensive one she only wears when she goes out. She says, "If you want to act grown, you can take a grown-up consequence," I say. Then she grabs my arm and shoves me into the counter. Hard. Right here. I touch my side, right under my ribs, where the edge of the laminate dug in. I hear something crack, I say softly. Could be the wood, could be me. The jurors lean in without meaning to. I can't catch my breath for a second, I say. It feels like the air's been knocked out of me, and then sat on. She sees me struggle. She still calls it an accident. She lets go like she's bored, I say. She tells me to stop being dramatic. She says if I keep sniveling, she'll give me something to really cry about. My side throbs just from saying it. The pain doesn't go away, I say, all night. It hurts to lie down. It hurts to laugh. It hurts to breathe all the way in. When I wake up, I taste metal at the back of my throat. At school, I say, I try to pretend I'm fine. The classroom smells like pencil shavings and dry erase markers. Every time I lean against my desk, my ribs scream. I raise my hand to answer a question, and it feels like a knife sliding between them. The prosecutor's pen pauses halfway down the page. During gym, I say, we're supposed to run laps. I make it halfway around the track. My chest seizes. I stop. The teacher blows her whistle and asks what's wrong. I tell her I can't breathe. I hear the whistle again, shrill and tinny. She thinks it's asthma, I say. She walks me to the nurse's office. The nurse tells me to lie down on the cot. The cot paper crackles under me in my memory, stiff and loud. She listens to my lungs, I say. She checks my pulse. Then she says, point to where it hurts most. I lift my hand now without thinking, hovering over that same spot. I point here, I say, by my ribs. She asks if she can lift my shirt a little to look. I nod. The courtroom feels like that office for a second. Cool air on exposed skin. Fluorescent lights humming. Clipboard pressed against the nurse's chest. When she sees the bruise, she goes very quiet, I say. It's not purple like the spoon one. It's dark, deep. Like someone took ink and pushed it under my skin in the shape of the counter edge. The prosecutor's jaw tightens. What does she do, he asks. She lowers my shirt, I say. She pulls the curtain around the cot. Then her voice changes. It's softer, lower. She asks me, "Did you fall?" I hear her voice so clearly, I almost answer in the present. I say no, I tell the court. I say Mom pushed me. The gallery shifts. A chair squeaks. Someone exhales. She asks if Mom has pushed me before, I say. I say yes. I say she gets mad. I say she forgets how strong she is. The words had felt small even then, like putting a bandage over a broken bone. She asks if Mom ever hits other places, I say. I nod. My throat closes up. Something in me cracks wide open. I start crying. I can't stop. The memory catches in my chest. The nurse doesn't freak out, I say. She rubs my arm. She talks into my hair. She says, "You're doing really well. I'm glad you told me." The prosecutor takes a half step closer, careful not to startle me like I'm an actual kid on that bed again. "What happens next?" he asks. She leaves the curtain drawn, I say. I hear her on the phone. Her voice is different, professional. She uses phrases like possible non-accidental trauma and mandated reporter. She gives my name, my student ID number. She reads off something from a checklist. I hear paper. I hear her pen scratching boxes. Procedures kicking in. Systems humming awake. A counselor comes in, I say. She smells like coffee and peppermint gum. She sits in the chair next to the cot. She asks me to tell her what happened, start to finish. I remember tracing the ridges of the coin in my pocket as I talked. I tell her about the counter, I say, about the towel, about the way my mom's face looks when she's angry but pretending not to be. I tell her about other times, not all of them. Enough. My voice in that office had sounded wrong to my own ears. Too old. The counselor nods a lot, I say. She doesn't interrupt. She says, "You are very brave." She says, "You did the right thing telling us." She says, "We're going to help keep you safe, okay?" I look at the jury now. I believe her, I say softly. For about 30 minutes, I believe her. The prosecutor's eyes flicker, and after those 30 minutes, he asks. They call my mom, I say. The room seems to tilt. She arrives fast, I say. Too fast for someone who says later she was in the middle of cooking. She smells like expensive perfume over kitchen garlic, like she sprayed it on in the car. Her eyes are already shiny when she walks in. That shine had fooled more adults than I could count. She clutches her cross necklace, I say, the one she only wears to church and appointments. She sits down. She looks so small in the nurse's chair. Knees together, hands folded like she's praying. The nurse and the counselor stand. They shuffle papers. They use soft professional voices. They tell her what I said, I say. They say they're concerned. They say they're required to follow procedures. They use the phrase safety plan. I see it again, the way my mother's shoulders shake. She cries, I say, big, heaving sobs. She says, "I am so sorry she's wasting your time." She is very sensitive. She blows things up in her head. My stomach twists even now hearing it. She says I fell off my bike, I go on. She says I've always been clumsy. She uses the word imaginative. She says she writes stories. Sometimes she starts to believe them. A couple of jurors glance at me, at the witness stand, at the coin in my hand. Then she turns to me, I say. Her eyes are wet, her voice is soft. She says, "Sweetheart, tell them you fell." The nurse's mouth presses into a line. The counselor shifts her weight. They look back and forth between us like a tennis match. I look at them, I say. I look at her. She squeezes my hand where they can't see. Hard, right on the bruise. Her nails dig in. The memory steals my breath even now. I know 2 things, I say. 1, if I tell the truth, I have no idea what happens. 2, if I make her look bad in front of them, I know exactly what happens. The prosecutor doesn't rush me. He lets me sit in that hallway of a choice. I say I fell, I say finally. I say I was being dramatic. I say I didn't mean to cause trouble. The nurse's face in my memory shifts from alarm to something like disappointment. The counselor writes shorter notes. Their shoulders lower, I say. They talk about our plan. They give her pamphlets about parenting classes just in case. They tell her they're there if she needs support. The support is all angled toward her. I'm asked to wait outside while they finish up, I say. I sit on a plastic chair in the hallway. My feet don't reach the floor. I listen to muffled voices through the door. I can't hear the words, only the tone, concern, reassurance, laughter, eventually. The prosecutor's pen is still now. In the car, I say, she doesn't talk at first. The engine hums. The turn signal clicks. Her silence fills every inch of the small space. Halfway home, she turns the radio off, I say. She smiles. It's a scary smile. She says, "Do you have any idea what you almost did to me in there?" My fingers spasm around the coin. I say, "I'm sorry," I say. She says, "No, you're not, but you will be." The steering wheel creaks under her grip. She tells me that if I ever embarrass her like that again, she will make sure I regret it, I say. She says I'm lucky they believed her. She says they always will, because I am a good mother, and you are a liar. The word liar lands in my chest the way it did then, sharp and heavy. She says if they ever take me away, it will be to somewhere worse, I say. Somewhere with cold metal beds and strangers who don't even pretend to love me. The gallery is utterly still. My voice drops. That night, I say, she makes dinner like nothing happened. The house smells like tomato sauce and garlic bread. The TV plays in the background. She laughs at something on the screen. My body hums with leftover fear. I go to my room, I say. I close the door very quietly. I sit on the floor with my back against it. The overhead light buzzes. Paint peels a little at the corner of the ceiling. I take the coin out, I say. I turn it over and over until it warms up. I press it into my palm so hard it leaves a mark. The quartz fluorescent lights blur for a second. I blink them back into focus. That night, I say, the coin is the only thing I can hold that doesn't hit back. That night, the coin is the only thing I can hold that doesn't hit back. The metal warms in my palm until my fingers sweat around it. In the courtroom, I feel it now. Same weight, same ridges. The prosecutor lets my last sentence settle like dust, then clears his throat. Over the years that followed, he says, "Did things at home improve? Or did they change in some other way?" The question is almost funny. It doesn't get better. It just gets organized. Things change, I say. She gets smarter about it. The wood of the witness stand blurs for a second, becomes the kitchen table, the hallway walls, the bathroom door. It's like the rules multiply, I say. Little at first, then more, like cracks in the ceiling. The house smells different depending on which rule I'm about to break. If the onions are overcooked, I say, I know to keep my voice down. If I smell cigarette smoke on her clothes when she promised she quit, I know not to mention it. If there's wine in her coffee mug, I know to stay out of arm's reach. My life becomes a kind of mental checklist. TV volume cannot go above 10, I say. Cabinet with the good plates is off limits. I'm allowed to breathe normally if she's humming. I'm supposed to barely breathe at all if she's quiet. A juror's pen stills over their notebook. I learn the safe zones in the house, I say. Places where there's nothing hard to be shoved into. I learn which parts of the door frame hurt less when she accidentally bumps me. I don't say the word bruise again. I don't have to. Punishments change too, I say. Sometimes it's not hitting, sometimes it's silence. The silent treatment is its own kind of violence. She won't look at me, I say, for days. She moves around me like I'm a piece of furniture she hates but can't afford to throw out. The memory tightens the skin around my chest. She cooks dinner, I say, and then, if I've broken one of the invisible rules, she scrapes my plate straight into the trash while I watch. She says, "If you won't behave, you don't deserve this." I remember the smell of spaghetti sauce in the garbage, the wet thud of meatballs hitting coffee grounds. She makes a point of eating in front of me, I say. Slow, loud, silverware tapping on the plate like a metronome. The prosecutor shifts his weight, but he doesn't interrupt. Sometimes she does it the other way, I say. Sometimes she just bumps me. The word feels small. She walks past me in the hallway and her shoulder slams into mine, I say. Says, "Oops, watch where you're going." The door frame catches my upper arm when she's in a hurry. She brushes past with a laundry basket, and the plastic corner digs into my ribs. Purple blooms under my skin like ugly flowers. Outside, she calls them accidents, I say. Inside, we both know better. The judge's pen scratches across paper, steady. I stop keeping track of how many times, I say. I start keeping track of the patterns instead. What she drinks, who she talked to on the phone, whether the wind chimes are moving when she steps out to smoke, even though she says she doesn't smoke anymore. The coin is my own little gauge. If I have to hold it, I say, it's already too late. The prosecutor's voice softens. At some point, he says, your family changes. There's someone new in the house. My throat tightens. My brother, I say. The word brother still tastes like responsibility on my tongue. He's born when I'm 11, I say. The hospital room smells like antiseptic and overcooked green beans. Mom is all smiles for visitors. She lets me hold him once, for a picture. I can feel his weight again, warm and floppy in my arms. He's so small, I say. His whole hand fits around just the edge of my thumb. He has Dad's eyes, that soft brown. Dad is already more gone than present by then. Dad's working double shifts, I say. Then he's staying with a friend for a while. Then he's just not there. The prosecutor doesn't ask where he went. That's not this case. With my brother, the stakes change, I say. Her moods have two targets now. She doesn't have to choose between yelling at me or throwing something at the wall. She can hand him to me like a shield. The memory lands sharp. She'll say, "Here, take him. You're the reason I'm stressed anyway," I say. She'll shove him into my arms and then slam cabinets. Stomp around, slam her own body into things. The baby cries. She says it's my fault. I start watching everything twice. Once for me, once for him. I make new rules in my head, I say. My own procedures. If I hear her car doors slam hard more than once, I get him into his room with a toy, close the door, and go into the kitchen alone. If the TV is too loud and she's on the phone, I turn it down before she has to ask. If he spills something, I say I did it. My body becomes a buffer. A glass of juice hits the floor, I say, and I step between her and my brother before she can look at him. I say, "Sorry, my fault." She believes me, or she pretends to. Either way, I'm the one who gets grabbed. The coin digs into my palm with each remembered substitution. My brother clings to my sleeve when we go out, I say. He learns early. If he stays behind me, he's invisible. If he makes himself small enough, he disappears. Outside, we are a different family. At church, I say, people tell her she's amazing. They call us her little miracles. They say, "You're so strong, doing it all on your own." The church smells like candle wax and perfume. Her perfume. Her voice goes soft when she talks to them, I say. She tells them she doesn't know what she'd do without us. She says, "They're my whole world." I remember the way one of the women squeezed my shoulder, fingers landing right over a fading bruise. She posts pictures, I say. Family selfies in front of the house with the flower boxes. Matching outfits for Christmas. My brother trying to smile and hiding his hands in his sleeves. The prosecutor glances at the jury, then at me. "Did anyone outside your home ever express concern?" he asks. I think of small flinches. Little signs. People notice things around the edges, I say. A teacher asks why I'm so tired. A neighbor asks why she hears shouting through the walls. A lady at church sees my brother flinch when someone raises their voice behind him. I remember all the almost moments. They don't push, I say. She makes a joke. She says, "Teenagers, you know." She says, "He's just sensitive." She laughs. They laugh. The laugh is its own armor. The prosecutor shifts his posture, careful, like he's stepping over something broken. "And you," he says quietly, "what did you do?" I look at the jury, at the judge, at the microphone that hums like an old refrigerator. I adapt, I say. I get good at predicting, at managing, at coordinating. I let the word sit. It's the closest thing I have to a hidden skill. I do homework with one ear tuned to her footsteps, I say. I learn the pattern of her day like a schedule. I know when the mail comes, when the phone usually rings, when she pours her first drink. I set my own checkpoints. If she hasn't yelled by dinner, I say, I know it's coming with the dishes. If she's quiet through the whole meal, I know it will be when the TV goes off. I move my brother like a chess piece. I tell him to go brush his teeth early, to take longer in the bathroom, to stay in his room until I come get him. In my pocket, the coin is a permanent hotspot. I tell myself I can keep everything just under the line, I say. Not bad enough that anyone outside has to interfere. Not bad enough that she breaks something we can't hide. My voice narrows. But the line keeps moving, I say. She throws out more of our dinners. She slams more doors. The accidents with door frames hit a little higher. My shoulders bloom purple. My brother starts to copy my flinch. The judge's gaze has gone very still. In public, I say, we're the strong single-parent family. In private, we're a system of alarms and responses only I seem to hear. The courtroom feels close around me. I start thinking in years, I say. If I can just make it to 14, to 16, to 18. If I can get a job. If I can get a license. If I can get a way out that doesn't involve them taking him somewhere I can't follow. My fingers close around the coin until the edges bite. I tell myself that if I can just get old enough to leave, I say, I can pull him out too. I tell myself that if I can just get old enough to leave, I say, I can pull him out too. The words echo in the courtroom, but the picture in my head has already jumped ahead. The prosecutor doesn't have to ask for the night everything snaps. My brain goes there on its own. It doesn't work out that way, I say. I don't make it to 18 before something breaks. The wood under my hands becomes our kitchen table. The fluorescent hum above my head turns into the yellow buzz of the cheap light over the stove. I'm a teenager by then, I say. Homework is spread all over the kitchen table. Algebra worksheet, history notes. My brother is on the couch with the remote, watching some cartoon way too loud. The TV blares. Bright colors flash across the screen. He giggles in little bursts. The sound always half apology, half hope. The clock over the stove says 9, I say. She was supposed to be home around 7. The house smells like overcooked pasta, and the garlic bread I kept warm too long. The sauce is starting to skin over in the pot. The coin is in my pocket, a familiar weight against my thigh. It's quiet except for the TV, I say. Quiet in a way that makes my shoulders creep up because I know it's not going to stay that way. Headlights sweep past the front window. My stomach drops before I even hear the key. The front door slams, I say, hard enough that the picture frames on the hallway wall rattle. The sound hits my chest like a shove. Her keys hit the granite counter with that metallic clatter, I go on. They skid, knock over the salt shaker. I hear the bottle in her purse thump against something as she sets it down. She is in the doorway in 3 strides. Her breath smells like cheap wine and mint gum, I say. Her lipstick is smeared a little. Her eyes are bright in the wrong way. My brother doesn't mute the TV fast enough. He never does. She looks at the table, I say, at the pots on the stove, at my open textbooks, at him laughing. She says, "Wow, look at my ungrateful, lazy little dependents." Her voice snaps on each word. I work all day, I quote, my own voice going flat to match hers. And this is what I come home to. Noise, mess, uselessness. The cartoon character on the TV does something stupid and canned laughter explodes from the speakers. She turns on my brother so fast the air seems to bend. She grabs him by the arm, I say, right above the elbow. Her fingers wrap all the way around. She jerks. His feet leave the ground. For a second he hangs there, I say, like a little coat on a hook. His face goes white. The remote drops and hits the tile, batteries popping out and rolling under the couch. Something in my chest tears. I don't think, I say. I just move. My chair scrapes back so hard it squeals against the floor. I step between them, I say. I put one hand out toward her, one back toward him. I hear myself say, "Stop. You're hurting him." Her eyes lock on me. Wrong target. Her hand lets go of him, I say. Then both hands are on my shoulders. She shoves. The fridge is behind me. I hit it back first, I say. The magnets explode off the door. Plastic letters and souvenir bottle openers rain down in a clatter. A takeout menu flutters onto the stove like a bad magic trick. The coin in my pocket jumps against my skin. My hip clips the handle, I say. Pain shoots up my side. My head bounces off the metal just enough to make my vision pop white at the edges. My phone skids off the table in the chaos. I hear it hit the tile, I say. The case cracks. It spins and slides under a chair, screen lighting up with some random notification I don't see. She's yelling. "You think you're grown now?" I mimic, the words burned in. "You think you can tell me how to raise my own kids? You think you're better than me?" Spit hits my cheek. Her breath is all wine and stale coffee and rage. She calls us names, I say. Ungrateful, lazy, unlovable. She spits that one at my brother over my shoulder, like she wants it to stick to him permanently. He is behind me, pressed against the cabinet, eyes huge. He's shaking, I say. I can feel it in the air even without touching him. Like the whole room vibrates. She reaches around me for him. Something in me snaps sharper than any bruise. This is the moment, I say. The one where my brain splits in half. One part of me is still the kid who knows what happens when you make her mad. The other part starts doing math. My hands tighten on the edge of the counter. I think about the nurse, I say, the counselor, the words mandated reporter, the way everyone believed her instead of me. And I realize the only adult we haven't tried yet is the one on the other end of 911. The prosecutor's pen stills. She is still yelling, I say. She shoves my shoulder again for emphasis. My body hits the fridge. A magnet shaped like a cartoon cow bounces off my head. The coin sears my leg like a brand. My phone is under the chair beside me, I say. Screen face up, little crack across the corner like a spider web. I edge my foot toward it. While she rants, I say, while she lists every sacrifice she's ever made and how we repay her. I slide my toe under the phone, drag it closer. My heart is beating so loud it drowns the TV. I drop my backpack, I say. On purpose, I make it look clumsy. I bend down to pick it up. My hand goes under the chair instead. My fingers close around the cracked case. The coin presses into my thigh as I crouch, I say. The metal is blazing hot now, like it's daring me to do it. I shove my backpack up between us like a shield. The bag hides my hands, I say. She's pacing in a tight little circle now, grabbing dishes, slamming them in the sink, turning back to shout, "Look at me when I'm talking to you." My thumb drags across the phone screen. I know exactly what to dial. I've seen posters at school, I say. Emergency numbers in big red print. I've memorized 911, the way I memorize exit routes. The keypad glows pale blue against my palm. I press the numbers, I say. 911. My thumb shakes so hard I hit 9 twice and have to backspace. The little beep as the call goes through is louder than it should be. I tuck the phone inside the open mouth of my backpack, I say. I press it against my chest. I angle the tiny microphone toward my own throat. Her voice fills the rest. 911, what is your emergency? The dispatcher says. The sound is high and tinny, but professional. I can't answer out loud right away, I say. She is 2 feet away, grabbing the back of a chair, calling us broken, calling us poison. I hear the dispatcher again. Hello, can you hear me? If you cannot speak, stay on the line. I swallow. I take a breath, I say. I turn my head like I'm looking at the floor. I let my hair fall over my face. I speak as quietly as I can, without whispering. The words scrape on the way out. I say, my mom is hurting us, and I tell the courtroom. I say, she won't stop. The dispatcher's tone shifts instantly. Okay, I hear again, even now. Okay, I'm here. Are you in immediate danger right now? I glance up at my mother pacing the kitchen, hand tight on the edge of a plate. Yes, I had breathed. I say, yes, I repeat. I say, please don't hang up. The dispatcher starts down their checklist. Can you tell me your address, they ask. I rattle it off from memory. Street, house number, city, zip code. Is she armed, they ask. I look at her hands. Not with a weapon, I say quietly, right into the backpack. Just herself. The dispatcher doesn't argue about what counts. Officers are on the way, they say. Stay on the line with me if you can. Can you move to a safer room? My brother is still behind me. There's nowhere safer, I say. Just less in the open. I shift my body. I edge us toward the hallway, I tell the court. I keep my shoulders between him and her. She thinks I'm slinking off. She grabs my arm, nails digging in. The phone digs into my chest between us. She hisses in my face. Don't you walk away from me, I recall. You think anyone out there cares what happens in here? The dispatcher hears every word. I can hear her, they say softly in my ear. You're doing great. Units are en route. You may hear sirens soon. The kitchen lights feel too bright. The cabinets crowd closer. My chest is full of static, I say. I feel like I might throw up or float away. I keep one hand on my brother's wrist and the other on the coin in my pocket. The coin is molten now, a small sun trapped in denim. Time gets weird, I say. Long, stretchy. Every second feels like a minute. She's still talking. I'm still saying, yes, ma'am. Sorry. It's my fault to her. And we're at home. She's drunk. My little brother is here. To the dispatcher. The prosecutor's jaw is tight. The jurors barely blink. Somewhere in the distance of that night, a sound starts. I don't notice it at first, I say. Just a low howl under everything. Then it gets louder, closer. Sirens. The dispatcher says, do you hear that? That's them, I say. They are almost there. If you can, move away from the door. My mom hears at the same moment I really do. Her head snaps toward the front window. Her grip on my arm tightens. For 1 second, nobody in that kitchen breathes. The coin is in my pocket, I say, voice thin as a wire, hot as if it knows the sirens already sliced through the night. The coin is in my pocket, I say, voice thin as a wire, hot as if it knows the sirens already sliced through the night. In my head, they're still getting louder. The dispatcher is in my ear, calm and steady. You're doing great, she says. Officers are outside now. Do not open the door unless they identify themselves. Do you understand? I nod at the backpack like it can see me. My mom hears the cars before I admit they're real. The blue and red lights smear across the living room wall, bleeding around the edges of the curtains. Her hand falls off my arm. What did you do? She whispers. It's not a question. She storms to the window, yanks the curtain back. The hallway fills with strobing color. I catch a glimpse of the squad car, the reflection of our house in its windshield like a smaller shaken version. There's a knock. Loud, authoritative. Police knock. "Ma'am, police department. Could you open the door, please?" Her rage melts in an instant. It's like watching a mask swap itself out in real time. Shoulders drop. Mouth softens. She turns back to us, eyes burning. "Don't say a word," she hisses. "Do you hear me? You say everything is fine." My brother nods so fast his hair falls into his eyes. My hands are still shaking around the backpack. The phone is warm against my chest. "I'm still here," the dispatcher says softly. "Officers are at the door. I'm going to stay on the line until they make contact, okay?" My mom smooths her hair, wipes under her eyes, pulls her cardigan closed, like she's cold. She pastes on a worried smile and opens the door. The hinges squeak. Blue and red light spills into the foyer, painting her face in emergency colors. 2 officers stand there, a man and a woman. Their belts jingle with gear, radio, handcuffs, flashlight. The man's radio crackles with some code I don't understand. "Good evening, ma'am," he says. "We got a call from this address. Is everything okay?" She laughs. A little too high. "Oh my gosh," she says. "I am so embarrassed. I'm so sorry you had to come all the way out here. We're okay. It's just been a rough night." She presses a hand to her chest like she's pledging allegiance. "I'm a single mom," she adds quickly, like it's a badge. "Teenagers, you know, emotions." The female officer's eyes flick past her into the house. Overturned chair, magnets on the floor, remote in pieces, me in the hallway with my backpack clutched to my chest. My brother half hidden behind me. "Ma'am, we still need to come in and make sure everyone's safe," she says. "Standard procedure." The word procedure lands like a small, solid object. Mom steps aside with a sigh. "Of course," she says. "Come in, please. I would never call you if it wasn't serious, so I understand." She lies so smoothly, I almost believe her for a second. They step in. The room shrinks around all the uniforms and equipment. The man's boots squeak on a spot where sauce splashed and dried. The woman officer looks at me. "Are you the one who called?" she asks. My throat closes. My phone is still on the line, buried in my backpack. The dispatcher's voice is a tiny buzz against my ribs. I nod. The male officer's radio chirps again. He presses the button on his shoulder. "Unit 231, on scene, domestic disturbance. 2 juveniles present," he says. The words go somewhere beyond this kitchen. "I'm Officer Ramirez," the woman says, stepping closer to me. "Can I talk to you over here?" She gestures toward the dining room, still in view, but a little away. I nod again. My brother clamps onto my sleeve as I move. "Just you," my mom cuts in, voice a little too sharp. She's very dramatic. "If you put ideas in her head..." Ramirez tilts her head. "Ma'am, I'm going to speak with her briefly," she says. "My partner will stay here with you and your son, okay?" Her tone is polite, but it isn't a suggestion. My mother shuts her mouth. Officer Ramirez leads me a few steps away. "Is your phone on you?" she asks quietly. "Are you still on the line with dispatch?" I nod and adjust my backpack strap so she can see the cord of my headphones poking out. She nods once in return. "Dispatch, this is 231, she speaks into her radio. "We're with the caller now. You can clear the line when ready. We've got it." In my ear, the dispatcher's voice comes one last time. "You did the right thing calling," she says. "The officers are with you now. I'm going to disconnect, okay?" The line clicks. Silence blooms in its place. Ramirez's eyes go to my arm. Red finger marks glow against my skin. "Can you tell me what happened tonight?" she asks. Mom's voice drifts over from the kitchen. "She's been acting out for months," she's saying to the other officer. "She gets these moods. Ever since her father left. I'm just trying my best. I got overwhelmed." "Overwhelmed?" That's her word. "She came home late," I say to Ramirez. "She was yelling. She grabbed my brother." My voice shrinks on grabbed. "She shoved me into the fridge," I add. "I called because she doesn't stop." Ramirez studies my face. "Does this happen a lot?" she asks. The truthful answer sits on my tongue like a stone. If I say yes, I don't know where we go. If I say no, we stay exactly here. "I don't know what's normal," I say. "It's the closest I can get." She doesn't write that down, but it shows on her face. The male officer, Hughes, according to his name tag, asked my mother his own set of questions. "Have you been drinking tonight, ma'am?" "Just 1 glass of wine with a friend," she says. "We were talking about everything. I guess I lost track of time." Her hand trembles just enough. "Any weapons in the home?" he asks. Of course not, she says quickly. We're not that kind of family. He notes something on a small pad. The radio on his shoulder cackles with another unit's traffic. Code numbers. Streets. Other emergencies. Anyone else live here, he asks. Just us, she says. Just me and my babies. I'd never hurt them. I'm tired. The performance is flawless. Ramirez pulls a small flashlight from her belt and asks to see my arm more clearly. She angles the light, not harsh, just enough to see the contrast. She looks at my brother's wrist too, the way he flinches when she reaches for his sleeve. She doesn't miss it. Do you feel safe here tonight, she asks me. The truthful answer is no. The truthful answer might send us to some stranger's couch, some emergency placement with cold metal bunk beds, like my mother's worst threats. My brother's fingers curl tighter into my hoodie. I hear my mother from the kitchen. They always twist things, she's saying. She's very creative. You know how teenagers are. Drama. Ramirez waits. I can almost hear the decision tree in her head. Training. Protocol. Boxes on a form. We'll be okay, I say, hating myself as the words come out. If she calms down. The officer's jaw flexes. She doesn't argue. But she doesn't look convinced either. They do what they can inside the lines they're given. Hughes takes down my name, my brother's, my mother's, dates of birth. He asks for our school. He writes our address again, even though he already said it into the radio. This will be documented as a domestic disturbance, he says. More to my mom, but loud enough for me. If you call again, we'll see there's a history. History, not just one bad night. He tears a sheet off a little pad. It's a pamphlet. Colorful. Too cheerful. Parenting resources, he says, handing it to her. Support groups, hotlines, classes. She takes it like it's an insult. Smiles like it's a blessing. Thank you, officer, she says. Really, I am trying. Her eyes flick to me on the word trying. A warning, sharp as broken glass. Ramirez gives me a card. Her name, a phone number, a non-emergency line. If anything else happens, she says, you can call this too, not just 911. The card is stiff in my fingers. I slide it into my pocket beside the coin. Paper and metal. Authority and totem. They leave eventually. Boots on tile. Static on the radio. A final, have a good night. That doesn't fit the room. The lights outside fade. The sirens shrink into the distance, swallowed by other emergencies. The house is very quiet. Too quiet. My mother doesn't speak at first. She just closes the door. The latch clicks like a lock on a cell. Then she turns. Her eyes are dry now. Do you have any idea what you've done? She asks, each word sharp. My instinct is to apologize. My hand is already in my pocket. The coin is still hot. I hold on to it so I don't reach for her. In the days that follow, the knock on the door is softer. Not police. A woman in a blazer with an ID badge on a lanyard. The badge catches the light, flashes the logo of Child Protective Services, the letters stacked like a verdict. Hi, she says, smiling too big. I'm Ms. Leonard. I'm here to do a quick home visit following up on the police call. Shouldn't take long. She smells like office air and hand sanitizer. She carries a clipboard. My mother turns the charm up to 11. Of course, she says. Absolutely. Come in. Can I get you water, coffee, homemade cookies? The house is spotless. Candles burn on the counter, vanilla sugar trying to erase the memory of garlic and wine. The TV volume is low. My brother sits stiffly on the couch with a book in his lap. He isn't reading. Ms. Leonard asks questions in that soft, practiced tone. How are things at home? Do you ever feel unsafe? Does mom ever hit you? My mother hovers in the doorway, arms folded, eyes drilling between my shoulder blades. We have already learned how to answer safely. I say we argue sometimes, but it's normal. I say she works hard. I say it was just a bad night. Ms. Leonard's pen scratches over the form. Check boxes. Short lines. Has anything like this ever happened before? She asks. I think about the nurse's office, the counselor, the bruise on my thigh in 6th grade. I think about the domestic disturbance code Hughes called in over his radio. I think about that incident number printed quietly on his notepad. I don't know what counts, I say. It's the closest thing to truth I can say with my mother's eyes on me. Ms. Leonard leaves her card too. Direct line. Extension. She says, if you ever need to talk when things are calmer, you can call me, all right? I nod, tucking it away with Ramirez's card and the coin. My pocket is starting to feel like a file drawer. Something is different this time. The police report, the home visit, the phrase mandated reporter now attached to uniforms and badges, not just school staff. These tiny pieces go somewhere I can't see. into a system behind our walls. I don't trust it, but I know it exists. So I start building my own. It begins small. A photo in the bathroom mirror when a bruise is still fresh. My arm lifted just enough, the shower curtain in the background. I angle it so my face is barely there, just enough to prove it's mine. I hit save. The coin is in my other hand, pressed into my palm until it leaves a print. I don't delete the voicemails where she screams at me for being ungrateful. Poison, a mistake. I stop erasing the text where she threatens to fix me when I get home. I buy a cheap notebook with my babysitting money and start writing dates in the top corner of the page. Underneath, I write the smells, the sounds, the words, overcooked onions, wine in the mug, the exact phrases she uses. I tuck the notebook under my mattress when I'm done. Every time I hit save on a file or close the journal on another entry, I touch the coin. Metal against skin. Ritual. Just in case, I tell myself. I don't know then that I'm building a case file, one quiet entry at a time. I don't know then that I'm building a case file, one quiet entry at a time. Time still moves, whether I'm ready or not. It skips ahead and jerks and jumps like bad video. One day I'm counting bruises under long sleeves. The next, I'm counting years until I can leave. The day I finally do, the house smells like detergent and dust. I have one duffel bag. It's overstuffed, zipper teeth straining, my whole life folded into shirts that still smell like her fabric softener. The front door closes with a soft click that somehow echoes like a slammed gate in my chest. No shouting, no dramatic goodbye. She is at work. I leave a note that says I got an opportunity, that I'll be sending money when I can. It is the quietest lie I have ever told. The coin is in my pocket, warm from my palm. The bus ride to my new place smells like old vinyl and rain-soaked jackets. My duffel presses against my knee. Every turn feels like I'm rolling away from gravity. The tiny apartment I move into has peeling paint and a fridge that hums louder than the one at home. The silence is wrong at first. No wind chimes, no slammed cabinets, just the drip of a leaky faucet and the buzz of the light in the hallway. It is blessed silence. I sleep on a mattress on the floor. I work 2 jobs, mornings at a coffee shop that smells like burned espresso and sugar syrup. Evenings stocking shelves under supermarket fluorescents that never turn off. Every paycheck is a list in my head. Rent, bus pass, groceries, phone bill. I keep the phone like it's an umbilical cord, a thin glowing line back to my brother. I text him too often. Are you okay? How was school? Did she yell today? He answers with short words and long emojis. Fine. Lol, it's okay. We're good. The pictures he sends don't match the faces in the emojis. His eyes look older than his age. There's always something just out of frame. A shadow of a doorway. A blurred hand. I save the photos anyway. They go into the same phone folder as the old bruise pictures and screenshot threats. My pocket still feels like a file drawer, just upgraded. Months pass. I learn bus schedules like I used to learn her moods. I know which shift managers will let me take a break if my hands start to shake. I keep the coin in my pocket every time I leave the apartment, fingers brushing it at bus stops and in checkout lines, grounding myself in something that existed before any of this. The text that changes everything comes late on a Tuesday. I'm halfway through a load of laundry. The laundromat smells like steam and cheap detergent. The dryer's turning with a low, constant rumble. My phone buzzes against the metal chair. It's from my brother. No words. Just a picture. His wrist. A flimsy plastic ER bracelet digging into the skin. The hospital name is half visible. The caption says, I fell. There's a little laughing emoji next to it, like it's a joke. His eyes in the background reflection of some shiny surface tell the real story. Wide. Shiny. Too calm. I don't text back. I call. He doesn't answer. My heart drops into my stomach like a stone. The dryers keep turning. Someone's machine beeps when it finishes, a shrill little song that sounds obscene. I shove wet clothes back into the bag, leave quarters in the machine's tray, and bolt. Bus. Wrong direction. Turn around. Another bus. I hold the coin in my fist the whole way, thumb rubbing the worn year until the numbers blur. The hospital lobby smells like disinfectant and burnt coffee. The fluorescent lights buzz, flattening everyone's skin to the same sick shade. I give the receptionist his name. She types it into the system, nails clicking on the keys. Her eyes tick over something on the screen. She doesn't say what. Second floor, she says instead. Pediatrics, follow the blue line on the floor. There is literally a blue line painted on the linoleum, winding past elevators and vending machines. I follow it like a kid on a field trip. Each step feels heavier. The pediatric ward door has a keypad. A nurse with tired eyes and a cartoon print scrub top badges me in. She glances at me like she's doing a quick assessment. Relation. Age. Threat level. Family, she asks. Sister, I say. He sent me a picture of his bracelet. Her mouth tightens, soft at the edges. She leads me to a curtain. My brother is on the bed, sneakers dangling off the end. Hospital bracelet shining against his wrist. He looks small, smaller than he did in his last picture. There's a nurse with a clipboard at his side, taking his vitals. Beep of the pulse ox on his finger. Blood pressure cuff squeezing his arm with a soft hiss. Hey, he says when he sees me, trying for casual. It's nothing, I fell. The lie is so thin it might as well be plastic wrap. What happened, I ask. He looks at the nurse. She looks at him. We've already talked a little, she says, voice careful. He says he tripped on the stairs. Her eyes flick to me with a second language I understand too well. I hold his gaze. Stairs, I repeat. He swallows. His fingers twitch under the blanket. Mom was mad, he whispers. The nurse makes a little mark on her form without looking down, like she's been doing this a long time. Later, when my brother goes for x-rays, the nurse pulls me aside to the little alcove by the supply closet. It smells like alcohol wipes and latex. She lowers her voice. This isn't the first time someone has raised concerns, she says. About him, about your home. The word home tastes wrong. I grip the coin in my pocket so hard it hurts. What do you mean, I ask. She glances toward the nurse's station. There are mandated reports on file, she says quietly. From school, from previous visits. Previous. Plural. I think of every almost message he never sent. Every fine, when he wasn't. We have to report certain injuries, she continues. We already notified Child Protective Services tonight. Again. The word again hits like a second impact. They may reach out to you, she adds, as a relative, for information or placement. Placement. That is a new word in our orbit. She slides a card into my hand. Not her own this time. Different logo. Different seal. Detective Bureau. A name. A number. A direct line. He asked us to give you this if you came, she says. He's been reviewing some of the older reports. He'll be by to talk to your brother with a CPS worker once the doctor clears it. The card feels heavier than it should, like it's metal, not paper. I stare at it, all the quiet files in my life. Police report, social worker visit, nurse notes, my secret photos, and journal. Suddenly feel like they want to stand up and walk somewhere. Can I call him, I ask. You can, she says. You don't have to wait. My chest feels tight. The coin is burning a hole in my pocket. I step outside the ward, into a little family room with sagging chairs and an old TV playing a cooking show with the sound off. I dial the number on the card. It rings twice. Detective Harris, a voice says, It's late, but he sounds like he never quite goes off duty. I introduce myself. My name, my brother's, my mother's, the house with the flower boxes. There is a pause. I've seen your names, he says. On some reports, paper rustles on his end. Keys clack. A database somewhere hums to life. If you're willing, he says, I'd like to sit down with you, go over what's been happening, not just tonight. My stomach flips. Like, officially, I ask. Yes, he says. In a recorded statement, at the station or here at the hospital, wherever you're comfortable. It could help us figure out next steps to keep you and your brother safe. Safety, paper, evidence, all the things I've been quietly collecting in the dark. I'll talk, I hear myself say. I'm ready to talk about everything. The interview room smells like coffee and old carpet. The walls are the color of Band-Aids. There's a metal table with 2 chairs, a box of tissues in the middle, like their standard issue. A small digital recorder sits on the table between us, red light blinking. Harris introduces himself again, this time with badge number, rank, the case number that attaches to our lives like a new last name. He explains the process. This is being recorded. I can pause if I need to. I can clarify later. There's a victim services brochure on the corner of the table, edges curled from being handled. I start at the beginning. The perfect house, the wind chimes, the wooden spoon, the nurse, the home visit, the domestic disturbance, the photos and screenshots and journal entries. Every time my hand goes to my pocket, the recorder catches the soft click of the coin against my knuckles. At one point, he holds up a hand, not to stop me, just to ask a question more carefully. Just so you understand, he says, pen hovering over his pad. What you're describing, if we can corroborate it with the reports we already have, your brother's injuries, your documentation, this could lead to criminal charges against your mother. The word criminal lands like a weight. Charges, I repeat. He nods. And if it does, he says, we would likely ask you to testify, in court, under oath, about what happened. The courtroom flashes in my mind before I've ever sat on that stand. The gavel, the lights, her face. My throat goes dry. The coin is suddenly the only thing that feels real. When he mentions the words criminal charges and testifying, my fingers close around the coin like it's the only solid thing in the room. When he mentions the words criminal charges and testifying, my fingers close around the coin like it's the only solid thing in the room. The recorder's red light blinks between us, steady as a heartbeat. Harris clicks it off with a small final beep. He thanks me. He says he knows it's a lot. He says the DA's office will be in touch. After that, time stops moving in days and starts moving in appointments. It becomes a montage of waiting rooms and manila folders, fluorescent lights humming overhead like they're part of the process. The first meeting at the DA's office smells like old paper and burnt coffee. The chairs in the hallway are bolted to the floor. Plastic seats that creak when you shift your weight. A security guard at the entrance has already emptied my backpack, passed my coin and my keys through a little gray tray, waved the wand over my shoes until it beeped. He handed the coin back with a raised eyebrow. Lucky charm, he said. I nodded because it's easier than explaining. The prosecutor who comes to get me is younger than I pictured. Dark circles under his eyes, tie slightly crooked. He introduces himself as Martin, assistant district attorney. He says my name like he's practiced it. Thank you for coming in, he says, holding the door to a small conference room. I know this isn't easy. The room is windowless. One wall is lined with shelves of old case files, cardboard boxes with dates scrawled on their sides. On the table sits a stack of folders with my last name on the tab. Seeing my name in fluorescent yellow marker on government paper makes my stomach twist. Just so you know how this works, Martin says, sitting opposite me, I'm going to go through what we have, and then we'll need you to fill in gaps. I'll be honest with you about what we can and can't prove. He opens the top folder. There it is, the printout of my old 911 call. Incident number, date, time stamped in black. He taps it with his pen. This is big, he says. You did the right thing calling. He pulls out a disc in a clear sleeve, labeled with the same incident number. Audio, he explains. We'll probably use clips at trial. I'll have you listen to portions, so you're not blindsided. He slides over photocopies of police reports. Words leap out. Domestic disturbance. Red marks visible. Mother reports feeling overwhelmed. Juvenile female appears anxious. There are notes from Hughes and Ramirez. Things I only half noticed at the time. See here, Martin says, tapping another line. She documents the bruising pattern. She notes your affect. That helps. He lays out other papers. A nurse's report with the phrase, possible non-accidental trauma underlined. A counselor's note from middle school. Child reports mother gets mad and forgets how strong she is, he reads. Mom denies. Child recants. I stare at the ink until it blurs. It wasn't just you, he says quietly. Other people saw pieces. They wrote them down. That matters. For the first time, I see it in one place. All the times I thought nobody really looked. They did. They just filed it away, hoping it might matter someday. Someday is now. We go over my journal, my photos. He asks if I'll consent to them being entered as evidence. Chain of custody is important, he says. Once you hand these over, we log them, tag them, store them. They become part of the case. He points to the corner of each printout, where a little blank sticker waits for an exhibit number. Exhibit A, Exhibit B. Pieces of my life turned into letters. I sign a form acknowledging I've given them to the state. The pen feels heavier than it should. Every signature makes my palm itch for the coin. We record my statement again, this time under the DA's microphone. The little red light glows on the table between us, twin to the one in Harris's interview room. I tell the same stories I've already told. Kitchen, wind chimes, wooden spoon, counter edge, 911. Each retelling is both a wound and a stitch. When my voice cracks, Martin pauses the recorder, lets me breathe, then hits record again with a soft click. Take your time, he says. I need you clear more than I need you fast. My brother agrees to talk too. We're not in the same room when he does. He's in a smaller one down the hall, the victim advocate sitting with him. her hand near a box of tissues she uses as much as he does. I see him in passing afterwards, his eyes swollen. A plastic visitor's badge stuck crooked on his shirt. "You okay?" I ask. He shrugs. "I told them," he says. "More than I thought I would." Guilt gnaws under my ribs. About putting Mom in jail. About dragging him through this. About airing family business to strangers in suits with tape recorders. It is almost louder than the relief that somebody else finally has to carry this story too. Weeks blur. Grand jury. Indictment. Words I barely understand but now live with. I go to work. I come to the courthouse. I sit with Martin in another fluorescent-lit office while he sketches out what trial will look like on a legal pad. Jury here, he says, drawing a box. Judge here, prosecutor's table, defense table, witness stand. He circles that last one. You'll sit there, he says. You'll be under oath. Her attorney will cross-examine you. He will try to make you doubt your own memory. That is his job. Our job is to make sure the jury sees the pattern. He lists the witnesses on a yellow sheet. School nurse, IR doctor, Officer Ramirez, social worker Leonard, Detective Harris, me, my brother. He puts little stars beside the last two. Core witnesses, he says. You two are the spine of this case. The others are ribs. The image makes me feel both necessary and exposed. He introduces me to Lisa, the victim advocate. She's in her 40s, hair pulled back with a pencil, lanyard full of keys, and a badge that flashes when she moves. Her office smells like peppermint and printer ink. She has a bowl of wrapped candies on her desk, and a stack of coloring books in a corner for younger kids. I'm your translator, she says. Court is its own language. I help you understand it. I walk you through what to expect so nothing blindsides you. She takes me into an empty courtroom one afternoon. No judge yet. No jury. Sunlight slants through high windows, dust drifting in it like slow snow. She shows me where everyone will sit. Judge up here, she says, tapping the bench. Jury there. Your mom will sit at that table. The defense table looks smaller than I imagined. And you'll be there, she adds, resting her hand on the witness stand rail. You can rest your hands here. You can ask for water. You can ask the judge to repeat a question if you don't understand it. Her tone is matter of fact, almost like she's walking me through an emergency drill. Do you see those? She asks, pointing to the speakers mounted near the ceiling. I nod. When you testify, she says, your voice will come through those. It's going to sound different to you. That's normal. If you need to take a breath before answering, take it. She hands me a stress ball shaped like a gavel. Some people like to hold this, she says. I shake my head and tap my pocket instead. I already have one, I say. She smiles like she understands exactly what I mean without me pulling the coin out. We practice. She plays defense attorney, throwing out questions in a rapid, slightly mocking tone. So you remember the exact color of the bruise from when you were 9, but not the date of your cousin's birthday that year? So your mother, who works 2 jobs and volunteers at school, is secretly a monster, and no one noticed until now. Her voice slides into his future rhythms so easily, it makes my palms sweat. Lisa pauses, switches back to herself. When they do that, she says, you don't have to get defensive. Just answer what they asked. Short, honest. You're not on trial. Your mother is. Every time fear spikes, I press my thumb into the coin. Round. Solid. Unchanging. I practice breathing with it between my fingers. In for 4. Out for 6. Lisa calls it grounding. To me, it feels like learning how to stay in my body while my past gets dissected in front of strangers. At night, in my apartment, I lie awake, staring at the cracked ceiling. I picture my mother on the stand, hand up, swearing to tell the truth, and nothing but. I hear her laugh in the nurse's office. Her sobbing apology to the cops. Her voice in the car telling me they'll always believe her. Now, there are records that say otherwise. Still, the cost of telling sits heavy in my chest. If she goes to prison, it will be because I opened my mouth and didn't close it again. If she doesn't, it will be because I did all this and it wasn't enough. Either way, I can't unknow what I know. I can't unstart this. So I keep showing up. To meetings. To prep sessions. To empty courtrooms where Lisa has me walk from the door to the witness stand and sit down. Over and over until my legs remember the distance. In the real courtroom, when the time comes, the lights will be harsher and the seats full. For now, it's just me, my echo, and the coin ticking against the wood as I wrap my fingers around it. When the bailiff finally calls my name on the first day of trial, I already know exactly how far it is from the door to the stand, and how long I have to keep breathing. When the bailiff finally calls my name on the first day of trial, I already know exactly how far it is from the door to the stand, and how long I have to keep breathing. Witness, please come forward. My knees still wobble. The courtroom smells like paper, aftershave, and the faint tang of old coffee. Wooden benches creak as people shift to watch me walk. Neighbors. A teacher from middle school. A woman from church with her lips pressed thin. A local reporter with a notebook. A few strangers who look like they're here for the show. The coin is a small hot circle in my fist, locked between my palm and my thumb. I step up, put my hand on the Bible the bailiff holds out. Raise my right hand. His voice booms through the speakers. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? My throat is dry. I do, I say. The word echoes back at me from the ceiling. I sit. The witness stand wood is smooth under my damp palms. Martin stands, buttoning his jacket. He glances at me, our tiny rehearsed cue, and then turns to face the jury. State your name for the record, he says. I do. My voice sounds thinner and younger through the speakers than it does in my own ears. The judge watches over rimless glasses, pen laid neatly across their notes. Mom is at the defense table in her soft blue cardigan, pearls glinting under the fluorescent lights. She stares at me like she's trying to burn holes through my face. Martin starts with the questions we've practiced. Where I grew up, who lived in the house, whether I remember the first time she hurt me. I talk about the flower boxes, the wind chimes, the wooden spoon with the burn mark, the bruise on my thigh, the nurse's office. I talk about the night in the kitchen when I called 911. The recorder on the prosecution table plays my teenage voice into the room. It crackles slightly, tinny, but the words are clear. My mom is hurting us. She won't stop. Someone in the gallery gasps quietly. The judge doesn't look up, but their jaw flexes. Martin walks me through the years like stepping stones, never letting me jump so far I fall apart, never letting me stay so long in one memory that I drown. Every few minutes, my thumb presses into the coin. Warm, real, a little anchor in a tide of questions. When he's done with direct, he says, "Nothing further at this time, Your Honor," and sits. The sound of his chair rolling back is louder than it should be. The judge turns to the defense table. Counsel? Mom's lawyer stands. Perfect suit. Perfect smile. He approaches like he's about to give a TED talk, not try to rip my life apart. Good morning, he says into the mic, oozing charm. We've heard some very serious accusations from you. He tilts his head, the picture of polite skepticism. You love your mother, don't you? He asks. It's the same trap we practiced with Lisa in an empty courtroom. I breathe. In for 4, out for 6. I wanted to, I say. He spreads his hands for the jury, as if he's just proved something. Isn't it true, he says, flipping pages theatrically, that you have been in therapy? That you've discussed trauma narratives with professionals who specialize in this kind of storytelling? He lets the word hang there. Storytelling. My chest tightens. Yes, I say. I've been in therapy to deal with what happened. So it's possible, he says smoothly, that you've been influenced, that you've been coached, even unintentionally, to see your past through a certain lens. Lisa's voice echoes in my head. Answer what he asked. Short. Honest. No, I say. It's possible therapy helped me name what was already there. His smile thins. He paces a little, shoes clicking on the polished floor. Your mother is a single parent, he reminds the jury. She works. She volunteers at school. People call her dedicated, strong. Isn't it possible that as a teenager you were simply rebelling? I picture myself at 15, counting bruises by shower steam. That's not what rebellion looks like, I say. He cuts in before I can say more. Isn't it true that sometimes she spanked you, he presses? That she used discipline common in many homes, but you now choose to label it abuse because of things you've read on the internet? The judge's pen stills. My heart slams against my ribs. She did more than spank, I say, and you don't need the internet to know what a bruise feels like. The defense attorney's jaw tightens. Yet you stayed, he says, until you left on your own. You didn't run to the police station. You didn't camp out at the hospital. You stayed for years. He shrugs, eyebrows up. Would a truly abusive home be somewhere you stayed? I think of the coin, the journals, the photos, the way I mapped exit routes while doing algebra. There was nowhere else to go, I say. I was a kid. He opens his mouth, then shuts it again when he sees Martin rise. Objection, argumentative, Martin says. Sustained, the judge replies. Counsel, move on. The defense lawyer nods, face smoothing. Just one more area, Your Honor, he says. He leans on the rail of the stand, just close enough that I can smell his cologne. Sitting here today, he says, lowering his voice slightly. Do you understand that if the jury believes every word you've said, your mother could go to prison? That you are asking them to take a struggling single mother away from her child? The implication wraps itself around my brother like a noose. I force my fingers to unclench from the coin enough that I don't drop it. I understand she is responsible for what she did, I say. Not me. The line hangs in the air. He blinks. No further questions, he says, a little too quickly. He goes back to his table. My mother doesn't look at me when I step down. Or maybe she looks only at me. Her eyes feel like a hot brand between my shoulder blades as I walk to the gallery and sit behind the prosecution table, hands still buzzing. Defense may call its witness, the judge says. Mom stands. The bailiff meets her halfway with another Bible. Her voice is steady as she swears. She sits in the chair I just vacated, straightens her cardigan, folds her hands like a woman in a magazine ad about resilience. Her lawyer smiles at her like they're old friends. Can you tell the jury a little about yourself, he asks. She exhales shakily, just enough. I'm a mom, she says. That's my whole life. I work 2 jobs. I volunteer. I've done everything I can to give my kids what I never had. She dabs at the corner of her eye with a tissue. They don't understand, she says, voice breaking in just the right places. Kids these days, they think any discipline is abuse. They watch videos online. They hear things at school. They're very easily influenced. Martin doesn't object. He lets her talk. She tells the jury I've always been dramatic, that I used to write stories where I was the hero, that I was obsessed with being believed. She talks about my rebellion phase, how I stayed out late, how I lied to teachers. She leaves out why. Anytime she tripped, anytime she bumped into something, suddenly I was this monster, she says, shaking her head. I would never hurt my children. Anytime I laid a hand on them, it was discipline, taken out of context. She looks at the jurors one by one, like she's memorizing them. I'm not perfect, she says. I've had bad days. But you don't throw a woman away because she had a bad day. For a moment, I can feel the room tilting toward her. People in the gallery nod. The churchwoman presses her hand to her chest. Someone mutters, poor thing, under their breath. It's the story I grew up inside, rolling itself out again, smooth and practiced. When Martin stands for cross, the air changes. He doesn't raise his voice. Ms. Alvarez, he says, you testified that you would never hurt your children. Is that right? Never on purpose, she says. He lifts a binder. It's thick. Tabs jut out the side in rainbow colors, each labeled with a date. Let's look at some dates, he says. He clicks a remote. On the monitor mounted near the jury box, a photo appears. My arm. Bruce. Bathroom curtain in the background. Exhibit C in the corner. Is this your daughter's arm? He asks. She swallows. It looks like it, she says. And your bathroom? Yes. And this bruise came from falling down the stairs? She nods too quickly. Yes, she says. She's clumsy. Dr. Patel will have more to say about stair injuries, Martin says lightly. For now, let's move on. He flips to another tab, a copy of my text glowing on the screen. You're going to regret embarrassing me like that. Everything in caps except my name. Is this your number? He asks. She shifts in her seat. Yes, she says. That was taken out of context. Martin doesn't argue the phrase. He just lets the words sit there, black and white, larger than anyone in the room. He doesn't keep her long. He doesn't have to. Nothing further, he says, and sits. The judge calls a short recess. When we come back, the witnesses start. The school nurse walks slowly to the stand, ID badge swinging, sensible shoes squeaking. Her hands are steady as she raises them for the oath. She tells the jury about the day she lifted my shirt and saw the bruise along my ribs, the one shaped like the counter edge. She uses phrases like deep tissue and pattern and inconsistent with a simple fall. She describes the way my mother reacted when called in, the laugh, the performance, the way my shoulders hunched when I changed my story. Then the neighbor. He's a quiet man from the duplex next door, hat twisting in his hands. He says he's not here to judge anyone. He says he knows families fight, but he talks about the nights he heard shouting through the thin wall, the thud of something heavy hitting drywall, a sound like a body sliding down it, the way a child cried afterward, high, breathless, cut off suddenly. The ER doctor is last before lunch. She's in a dark suit instead of scrubs, but she still smells faintly of antiseptic. She explains calmly what different injuries look like from a medical perspective. Accidental, non-accidental. How kids bruise on knees and shins when they're clumsy. Not in neat rings around wrists or in repeated spots on the same thigh. Martin shows her my brother's x-rays from his fall. She points to the healing fracture lines with a little light pen. These, she says, voice level, are not what we expect from a single trip on the stairs. She looks at the jury. This is what I see, she says, when force is applied by someone bigger. Over time, behind her at the defense table, my mother's smile finally cracks. The coin in my hand cools a fraction as the room's attention shifts. Away from her practiced tears and toward the stack of records nobody can call dramatic. The coin in my hand cools a fraction as the room's attention shifts. Away from her practiced tears and toward the stack of records nobody can call dramatic. Trial days blur together after that. Witnesses, exhibits, sidebars and low voices. And then suddenly, we are at the part that doesn't blur. Closing arguments. The judge's face stays neutral as the attorneys stand, but their pen is never still. Notes in tight handwriting. Little stars in the margins. The framework of whatever is about to happen. Martin goes first. He buttons his jacket, walks to the center of the room, and stands where every juror can see him without twisting. Ladies and gentlemen, he says, this case is not about whether the defendant is a perfect parent. No one is. This case is about whether she committed crimes. He points, not at my mother, but at the evidence table. The binder. The photos. The discs. The law asks you to look at patterns, he continues. Not isolated incidents, not excuses. He holds up my old 911 transcript. You heard her voice, he says. You heard the terror in a child calling for help. You saw the bruises. You listened to the nurse, the doctor, the neighbor, the officers. These are not fantasies. These are not dramatics. These are corroborated facts. He walks them through the counts. Abuse. Endangerment. The legal words sound clean and sharp compared to the messy, sticky reality they sit on. The state has the burden of proof, he says. Beyond a reasonable doubt. Not beyond every doubt. Not beyond every what if. Beyond a reasonable doubt. He looks at the jury, one by one. Ask yourselves, he says. What is reasonable, in light of what you have seen and heard? The coin pulses against my skin like a second heartbeat. When he sits, the room exhales. Then Mom's lawyer stands. He straightens his tie like he's about to accept an award. He smiles, the same easy curve he used at the beginning. He thanks the jury for their time, for their patience, for the sacrifice of sitting through such emotional testimony. He calls my mother a struggling single parent. He calls me a creative young woman. He says words like misremembering and influence and narrative. He tells them they do not have to decide whether we are a perfect family, only whether the state has met its burden. If there is any doubt in your mind, he says, lowering his voice, about whether this is discipline taken out of context, about whether memories have been colored by therapy, by internet articles, by well-meaning advocates. He spreads his hands. You must vote not guilty, he says. He does not look at me. He looks at the jury like they are the only real people in the room. When he sits, the judge gives the standard instructions. Presumption of innocence. Burden of proof. What reasonable doubt means. What each count requires. Their voices calm, practiced, like they have done this hundreds of times, and each time still counts. Then the bailiff swears the deputies who will guard the jury room. The jurors file out, single file, their faces closed, carrying our lives in their heads like something fragile and dangerous. Deliberations take time measured in vending machine coffee and hallway pacing. I sit on a hard bench outside with Lisa and my brother. The fluorescent light in the corridor hums overhead, washing everything in a tired yellow. My brother's knee bounces. Lisa keeps checking the door with the jury sign, like she can will it open. The coin is a steady circle in my palm. I rub my thumb over it until the metal warms, then cools, then warms again. We are called back in after what the clock says is a few hours, but my body says is a lifetime. All rise, the bailiff calls. The judge takes the bench. The jury files in, chin up, eyes down, faces unreadable. Madam Foreperson, the judge says. Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict? A woman in the front row stands. She holds a folded piece of paper like it might catch fire. Yes, Your Honor, she says. The clerk takes the paper, unfolds it, and reads. On the first count of child abuse, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. The word lands in my chest with a dull thud. On the second count of child abuse, guilty. On the count of child endangerment, guilty. There is a collective exhale in the gallery, a gasp from the churchwoman. The soft sound of someone sobbing behind me, wet, sharp breaths, like something breaking. My mother's shoulders curl in as if someone pulled a string through her spine. She looks smaller than I have ever seen her. Her hand flies to her mouth. For a second, I think she might apologize. She turns her head. Her eyes find mine. "Happy now," she mouths. No sound, just the shape of the words, spit slick between her teeth. My stomach flips. The coin is the only thing that feels solid enough not to sway. The judge thanks the jury, excuses them from the room with a reminder not to discuss the case until they're formally released. Their chairs sit empty when the door closes behind them, like the ghosts of possible futures just left. Sentencing happens later. Different day, same room, fewer people. The benches are half full now. Curious neighbors gone. Reporters still here. My brother, Lisa, Harris in the back, arms folded, face unreadable. The air is heavier. Probation officers sit near the front. A pre-sentence report lies open on the judge's bench, thicker than the file on the evidence table. The judge explains the process for the record. They have considered the guidelines. They have reviewed the report, the letters submitted, the victim impact statements. They ask if anyone wishes to speak. Martin nods toward me. Lisa squeezes my shoulder. I stand. My legs feel like they belong to a puppet someone else is driving. The paper in my hands shakes. The words on it are mine, but my throat doesn't recognize them yet. "Whenever you're ready," the judge says. The microphone hums in front of me. I take one breath, then another. The first sound I remember from our house is the wind chimes, I read. The second is my own heartbeat in my ears, wondering if the front door opening means dinner or danger. My voice trembles, but it doesn't crack. I talk about learning the rules by smell. Onions, wine, cigarettes she said she quit. I talk about memorizing exit routes before I memorized my times tables. About how long it takes to believe your own pain when the person causing it tells you you're making things up. I am not here to ruin my mother's life, I say. I am here because she already changed mine, and my brother's, in ways we will spend years trying to untangle. My hands are slick on the paper. The coin is pressed between my ring finger and my palm, a hard little comma anchoring every sentence. I still feel guilty, I admit, about putting her in this chair, about saying this out loud. But I also felt guilty when I kept quiet, and my brother got hurt. I tell the judge I want safety, not revenge, protection, not a performance. I ask for a restraining order that lasts long enough for my brother to become an adult, without checking the driveway every time the doorbell rings. When I'm done, I fold the paper in half, then in half again. I sit. The wood of the bench feels cool through my dress. My mother speaks next. She does not apologize. She talks about her childhood, her stress, her mental health. She says, "I never meant to hurt them," like intention changes impact. The judge listens without interrupting. Then they straighten their notes, set the pen down, and look directly at her. "Ms. Alvarez," they say, voice measured. "This court deals with many forms of harm. Few are as profound as the betrayal of trust between a parent and a child." They gesture lightly toward the stack of reports and exhibits. "This was not a single bad day," they continue. "This was a documented pattern of harm, over years, confirmed by independent witnesses, medical professionals, and your own words." Each phrase drops like a stone into a still pond. "You taught your children," the judge says, "that love comes with fear. That home is a place of walking on eggshells. This court has a duty to teach a different lesson to them and to the community watching." They outline the sentence clearly, like a checklist. A term of incarceration in the state correctional system, measured in years, not months. Mandatory participation in treatment programs for offenders. Supervised release afterwards with conditions. A long protective order that prohibits contact with me or my brother. No calls, no texts, no third-party messages. No coming within a set distance of our homes, schools, or workplaces. "Do you understand these conditions?" the judge asks. My mother's voice is barely audible. "Yes," she says. The judge lifts the gavel. "This court sentences you accordingly," they say. "We are adjourned." The gavel comes down with a stern, echoing bang that vibrates through the wood and up my arms, and for a suspended second, I feel the cost of freedom in both directions. Her being led away, and me sitting here, still figuring out what to do with the space she used to fill with fear. The gavel comes down with a stern, echoing bang that vibrates through the wood and up my arms, and for a suspended second, I feel the cost of freedom in both directions. Her being led away, and me sitting here, still figuring out what to do with the space she used to fill with fear. Then everything moves fast. The bailiff calls, "All rise!" The judge's robe disappears through a side door. Chairs scrape, people shuffle. A deputy appears at my mother's elbow. Handcuffs glint for a second as he guides her toward the back. She doesn't look at me as she passes. Or she does, and I just can't make myself meet her eyes. The coin is warm in my palm, pressed so deep into the skin that when I finally stand, it leaves a red circle, like a little eclipse. Outside the courthouse, the air feels different. It's still city air, exhaust and hot concrete, and the sharp tang of someone smoking too close to the entrance. But it doesn't taste like panic anymore. It tastes like possibility and something raw, like skinned knees starting to scab. The courthouse steps are wide and pale under the afternoon sun. My brother stands beside me, hands shoved into the pockets of a hoodie I bought him last month on sale. He is quieter than usual, eyes flicking between the heavy wooden doors and the street like he's waiting for someone to yell that they made a mistake and drag us back in. "They're really taking her," he says finally. His voice is so small it almost gets lost in the traffic noise. "Yeah," I say, "they are." We don't say what that means. Not yet. Instead, we talk about practical things because the big feelings are too big to touch. "Caseworker says you can stay with me," I remind him. "At least for now. Kinship placement." The phrase tastes like paperwork and relief. "We'll meet with her next week," I add. "Go over the schedule, school, therapy, all of it." He nods, chewing the inside of his cheek. "What about money?" he asks. "Rent, food, I already work 2 jobs," I say. "I can handle it. And Harris said there's victim compensation, remember. We can apply. Lisa's going to help with the forms, and you're going to fill out that financial aid thing so we don't have to pay full price for you to take classes when you're ready." He huffs a breath that might be a laugh. "Might," he says. "You mean if?" "When," I correct. "When you're ready." A reporter in a blazer too warm for the weather hovers at the bottom of the steps with a cameraman. Her badge flashes on a lanyard when she moves. She watches us the way people watch breaking news, eyes bright, notebook ready. She steps closer. "Excuse me," she says. "I'm with Channel 8. Would you be willing to make a brief comment for awareness? For the 6 o'clock slot. For the web clip that lives forever." Lisa is a few steps away, talking to one of the victim advocates from another case. But her attention swivels the moment she hears reporter voice. I could say no, walk away, disappear. I look at my brother, at the courthouse behind us, at the street in front of us. "I can say one thing," I tell the reporter. "No more than that." She brightens, nods. The cameraman lifts the lens. The red recording light blinks, a little mechanical eye. I don't look into it. I look past it, at the traffic light changing from red to green, at a delivery truck turning the corner. "I hope," I say, voice steady, "that any kid who hears about this knows they can tell, even if it takes more than once to be believed." The reporter waits for more. I don't give it. "Thank you," I add, not sure who I'm thanking, and I walk away before my life becomes B-roll. Lisa falls into step beside us. "You did good," she says quietly, "both in there and out here." Her key card clicks against the rest of her keys with every step, a small practical music. She reminds us about next appointments, therapist, probation intake, where they'll explain what violations of the protective order look like and how we report them if they happen. She mentions a support group for young adult survivors that meets Thursdays, down the hall from her office. "No pressure," she says, "just options." Options. The word lands strange, like a language I'm still learning. In therapy, the room is smaller, quieter. The walls are painted a soft color that tries hard not to be anything. My therapist, Anna, has a plant on the window ledge and a box of tissues on the coffee table. She has a tiny white noise machine in the corner that sounds like static or the ocean, depending on how much I slept the night before. The first time I go after sentencing, I sit on the couch and don't know where to put my hands. In my lap? On my knees? Around a pillow like it's a shield? Anna notices. "Do you have something that helps you feel grounded?" she asks. Some people like to hold on to anything familiar. I pull the coin out. It lies in my palm, dull brass in the soft light, the year worn faint at the edges. I set it on the table between us. It looks smaller there than it does in my pocket. Like a witness, we talk about loyalty and anger, about how my body still tenses when a door closes too hard, even though there's nobody on the other side of it with a wooden spoon. We talk about how I sometimes miss the version of my mother I spent years inventing. The one who could have taken parenting classes and meant it. Who could have looked at the bruises and said, "I'm sorry," before a judge made her say anything. Guilt rides shotgun in every session. For what I did. For what I didn't do sooner. For the fact that I can sleep now, mostly, while she is in a cell somewhere counting a different kind of ceiling crack. Anna doesn't rush me toward forgiveness. She doesn't rush me toward anything. She asks questions that land between us like carefully placed objects. What would you say to a friend who told you this story? Where in your body do you feel the fear now? What does safety feel like? Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes all I can say is, not this, or not yet. The coin sits there for every session. Sometimes I pick it up and roll it between my fingers when the words get stuck. Sometimes I leave it on the table and just look at it, like I'm asking it to corroborate my testimony. You were there, you know. By the third or fourth session, Anna starts nudging me toward a sentence I can barely hold in my mouth. What happened was real, she says it first. Then she asks me to say it, out loud, not into a microphone, not under oath, just here, in a room that smells like tea and printer paper and the faint citrus of her hand lotion. I stare at the coin, at the ridged edge, at the little nick on one side where it hit a bathroom tile years ago. My throat tightens. It feels like I'm making it up when I say it, I admit. That makes sense, Anna says. You were told that for a long time. That doesn't make it true. We sit in the quiet for a bit. The white noise machine hisses softly. A car horn bleats somewhere outside, distant through the insulated glass. I pick up the coin. I close my fingers around it. My palm goes warm. What happened was real, I say. My voice shakes. The room doesn't. Anna nods, like I just placed a piece on a puzzle she's been watching me work. She doesn't clap. She doesn't say, finally. She just says, say it again if you can. So I do. Each time the words scrape a little less. Each time they sound a little more like mine and a little less like I'm testifying for someone else's benefit. After the session, walking home, the city feels different again. Same cracked sidewalks. Same bus rumble. Same siren wail in the distance, fading as it goes towards someone else's emergency. But my apartment door opens to quiet that doesn't scare me. My brother's sneakers are in a heap by the mat. There's a note on the counter in his messy handwriting about a shift he picked up and leftovers in the fridge. I set the coin on the kitchen table instead of sliding it back into my pocket. For the first time, I don't feel like I need to carry it constantly to prove anything, to myself or anyone else. I sit down, breathe in air that smells like nothing more dangerous than dish soap and reheated pasta, and practice the sentence one more time, just for me. What happened was real. What happened was real. I say it again in my head as I sit at the same small kitchen table. Except now, time has moved. Now it's months later. The vent over the stove hums softly instead of roaring like the old one. It's a steady white noise, not a threat. Sunlight pours through the small window over the sink, falls across the worn wood under my forearms, warming the grooves where other people's elbows used to rest before this table ended up in our thrift store kitchen. My brother is at the other end, hunched over a math worksheet, pencil tapping a slow, irregular rhythm. The silence between us is different than the one I grew up with. Not heavy, not weaponized, just concentration. There's a low murmur from the TV in the next room. Some daytime show dissecting another family scandal. A host's voice rises and falls. Words like custody, allegations, drama. I catch the tail end of a sentence. Neighbors say they never suspected a thing. Of course they didn't. I stare at the condensation ring my glass left on the table, watch it fade. It hits me how many stories like ours never make it to a courtroom at all. How many kids grow up learning to tell time by the slam of a door and the sound of someone's feet in the hallway. And that's the only record that ever exists. The brass coin lies between my hands. I turn it over and over, feeling the familiar ridges, the softened ear, the tiny nick on the side. There was a time I held it like a flare, like if I squeezed hard enough someone would see the signal and come. Now it feels less like a wish and more like a reminder. I didn't get airlifted out. I walked. I called. I saved. I spoke. I rescued myself. Does this make sense? My brother asks suddenly, breaking the loop in my head. He pushes his worksheet toward me, pencil smudge on the corner, numbers circling each other. I read the problem. Some word problem about splitting rent between roommates. Real life disguised as algebra. Yeah, I say. You just forgot to divide by 3 at the end. You're treating it like it's just you and one other person. He rolls his eyes, erases, rewrites. Still getting used to not being the only one in the house, he mutters. It's a joke. Mostly, I smirk. Good thing you've got an expert now, I say. We talk about practical things while he works. His next therapy appointment, the email he got from the financial aid office, the forms he doesn't want to fill out, the part-time job his caseworker is helping him apply for, stocking shelves not unlike I did. The logistics are heavy, but they're a kind of heavy I can lift. Numbers, dates, schedules, things you can put in a planner. The emotional weight is too big to name all at once, so we pick up what we can, one line item at a time. My phone buzzes near the salt shaker. A relative's name flashes on the screen, one of my mother's sisters. I've been letting her calls go to voicemail for weeks. Boundaries are new. They chafe and protect at the same time. Today I swipe to listen instead of answer. Her voice spills out, tired and tight. She says you lied, my aunt says in the recording. She says you exaggerated. Family business shouldn't be in court. You could have just walked away. You didn't have to do all that. Maybe you went too far. The message is longer, circling the same drain. I delete it. My thumb hovers for a second over the trash icon. Then I hit confirm. Who is that? My brother asks. Doesn't matter right now, I say. The protective order paperwork is in a folder on the counter. The judge's signature, a sharp black streak at the bottom. It lists what contact is allowed and what isn't. Who can reach out on her behalf and who absolutely cannot. I know the case number by heart. I know the non-emergency line to call if someone crosses a line. I have more than a coin now. I have actual numbers, actual offices. A system that this time did not just almost work. On the TV, the host's voice softens into faux empathy, talking about both sides of that other family's story. I stand, walk to the doorway, and hit the power button on the remote. The room exhales into silence. You weren't watching that, my brother protests mildly. Exactly, I say. We don't need another stranger narrating pain for entertainment. I sit back down. The sunlight has shifted, sliding the warm patch on the table closer to my side. I take the coin and set it right in the center of that golden circle. For a moment, I just look at it. There's a stack of manila envelopes by the fruit bowl. Copies of court records the victim advocate helped me request. Transcripts, sentencing order, protective order, letters from victim services with intake numbers and resource lists. They don't tell the whole story. They don't catch the smell of garlic and bleach, the taste of metal in my mouth, the way my brother's hand felt shaking in the ER. But they say enough. On paper, in ink, in ways that survive memory. Sometimes I still hear echoes of other people's opinions. The aunt who thinks I should have left it alone. The neighbor who told someone at the grocery store she doesn't know what to believe. The anonymous comments under the Channel 8 clip that say things like, "Kids today are so soft," and "She just wanted attention." They sting for a second, like fresh salt on old cuts. Then they fade into the background noise where they belong. Because here, in my kitchen, there are other sounds that matter more. Pencil tapping, vent humming, dishwasher sloshing in the corner, a small machine doing what it's supposed to do. My brother sighing as he finally gets the last problem right. Done, he announces, leaning back. He looks less like a case file and more like a kid. I pick up the coin again, only because I want to, not because I feel like I'll drown without it. Its weight is the same as it has always been. I'm the one who changed. I used to close my hand around it and hope someone would show up and say, "I believe you," in a way that stuck. Now, when my fingers curl, I feel the records backing me up. The officers who wrote down what they saw. The nurse who ticked boxes on a mandated form. The doctor who said non-accidental trauma into a microphone. The judge who said guilty and protective order in a voice that made the walls listen. People will always have opinions. They are entitled to them. They can say I went too far. They can say I didn't go far enough. They can tell themselves stories where I am ungrateful, dramatic, vindictive, naive. They can stay loyal to the version of my mother they need to sleep at night. But there is a line now between what is story and what is record. Between what she insists and what the file says. Between denial and documentation. I press the coin into my palm one more time, not to wish, but to remind myself how far I've already walked on my own 2 feet. My mother can deny my pain for the rest of her life if she wants, but she can't unwrite the truth once it's carved into the record, stamped and sealed with a gavel's final bang.